Today we're going to look at a brand some of you may have never heard of, LA Sound. We have this Sunset 100S amplifier, brand new in box, made in Korea. All the specs right here. We're going to get to it in just a minute and open it up. But before we do that, let's go back in time a little bit. Who is LA Sound? There are probably some homies, I would guess. Started around 1985 as a value-focused brand. They were reintroduced 2001 with some new amplifiers. But if you look at their website in 2001, the Onion River Food Co-op had lasound.com. Let's go back to the early 90s, car audio and electronics, and they had a lot of ads for LA Sound, including these full systems that you could buy. Anything from a basic system like this with one amp, a crossover, mid-bass, tweeter, a bandpass box. You could get all this together as a package, which I still think today is a smart deal. Some companies still do it, under $400. That's equivalent to about $800 today in 2022. They also had a little bit fancier systems here that had two amplifiers, an electronic crossover. It had, again, nicer mids, nicer tweeters, and the same sub box, which had the bandpass 10s, and it came with a free CD. This is under $700, which equivalent today is about $1,400. I was accustomed to seeing the LA Sound with this guy with the surfboard sticking out of the back of his car, but this particular one I wasn't really sure about. So I got out my Orion Blue Book, and there it is, right in the middle. Sunset 100S. It says 1995, and it says $200 was the retail. So then I decided to go ahead and get out my directories, but the problem was I could not find this model anywhere. I got out all the directories that I had from 1995, and they listed, the Catalina Classic, the Hermosa, Malibu, some other models, but did not show this one. It's very odd. So anyway, I did talk to a few friends who said they did see this before, like at a Sears or something like that. So this is a legit model. And here it is. You can see in the box, this thing was brand new. It had all the hardware, comes with the manual. It's rated 50 watts by 2 at 4 ohms, 70 watts by 2 at 2 ohms, or 140 watts bridged at 4 ohms. And it's kind of unique. You'll see it when I take it out of the package here. It looks like it's got the picture kind of silkscreen onto the top. It's not a picture. It's not a sticker from what I can tell. I got a close-up picture, but I don't know why they put the specs on the amp like this. It's very cheesy looking in my opinion. Here on one side of the amp you can see Sunset 100S. There is a subwoofer crossover, 50 Hz, 80 Hz, or full range. Input level control for adjusting the variable input. A high level input as well for speaker level inputs. And there are your RCA jacks, which are the standard style RCA jacks. On the opposite side, we have all screw down terminals. You can see power, ground, remote here, 25 amp fuse, power LED, which is green. I don't know what it is. I just like green LEDs. Green means good. Red means something's wrong. Speaker outputs, again, screw down terminals. This is a 2-channel amplifier that can be bridged. And here's all the goodies that come with it. You get some extra hardware, extra fuse, other stuff like that. As far as dimensions, 8.9 on the long side, 8.7 on the width, 2.1 for the height. As far as the specs go, this is again just a basic 2-channel amplifier that's bridgeable, has a MOSFET power supply, has a built-in crossover, tri-op output capability, which just means you can do the tri-mode, gold-plated RCA inputs, blah, 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 soft start, all that good stuff. Specs already mentioned it, 50 watts by 2 at 4 ohms, 70 watts by 2 at 2 ohms, 140 watts bridged at 4 ohms, damping factor better than 200, idle current 0.4, all that good stuff. Let's check it out. This LA Sound Sunset 100S connected up. Let's go ahead and turn it on, fire in the hole. So we have green power LED. Good to go. Let's configure it on the dyno and run the test. Now we have the LA Sound amplifier hooked up to the amp dyno, configured for 10 dB of overlap. First off, we're going to try the stereo test at 1 kilohertz, since usually you use stereo for full range. 4 ohm stereo rated 50 watts by 2, no voltage is specified, so we're going to try to keep it between 12 and 14.4. 59 and 56 watts at 13.7. So it did its rated power plus a little more at less than 14.4 volts. Uncertified up to the clipping point. Exactly the same, 56 watts, 13.81. Dynamic, let's send that pulse tone into the amp. Again, this is a 1 kilohertz tone. Power's got a little bit of headroom here. 67 and 67 watts, 4 ohms. What about that efficiency? This is a class AB amp, 61.7%, which is right about what we expect. 2 ohm stereo rated 70 watts by 2. Again, no voltage is specified. Certified run takes us up to 1% distortion, and right at it, 76 and 69 watts. Again, I'll bring it up because people always ask, why doesn't it show the same wattage per channel? Well, remember, there's different components on each side, tolerances and stuff like that. Not different components themselves, but the tolerances are different. So having exactly the same power output is rare for 2-channel amps. So it should be close enough where you won't hear it. Dynamically, here you go. 94 and 85 at 13.68. 95, 87, jumped up a little bit. Efficiency dropping significantly at 2 ohms, 46% efficient. Now we have the amplifier bridge. You can see using the left positive and right negative. Let's try these bridge mono tests, see what we get. Now the mono test, we do have the test tone at 40 hertz because we're going to assume that you're going to run a subwoofer off of it. So here's the 4 ohm test, rated 140 watts. Again, no voltage is specified. Let's try it out. Here we go. Can we get that 140? Ooh, 133, 13.85. But let's crank up that voltage. Let's assume that they meant at 14.4. Give them all the benefits of the doubts. Here we go, running the test again. 144 at 14.48.
Yeah, boy!
Giving LA Sound the props they deserve for selling us something and giving us true specs, even back in the day. Uncertified test up to clipping. 148 at 13.81. What about dynamic? Does it have any dynamic headroom built in? I would say yes, it definitely has some dynamic headroom in this amp. 161 watts at 13.91. Again, that's the 40 hertz tone. What about that efficiency? Ooh, 40.7%. Shares this efficiency with a V10 pickup truck. On to the results. You can pause this if you want to see it. I just showed you all the tests. But yeah, that's it. What about the sound quality test? We're going to try it even though you can't really hear over YouTube. Get ready. Here it comes. We have the ELAC bookshelf speakers hooked up to the LA Sound amp. Let's try some Smoke Jacket Blues. Got to demo a little Mazer laser. And a little luck witch. To my ears, the amp didn't sound bad at all. A little bass heavy, but not too bad. Now let's find out what's inside. Take off 6 screws here on the bottom. Find out what it is. Now, first thing I notice is that, yeah, it looks like a project. Looks like something you get from Radio Shack back in the day. Breadboard, and you just populate it yourself. Check it out. All through the whole components here. It does say LA Sound Sunset 100S on the board, which is pretty cool. Tells us that, LA Sound did have them make these specifically for them. We see 35 volt 2200 microfarad here for the rails. You guys may notice that stuff underneath the cap, may think it's leaking. That's not really leaking. That's just glue they use to keep the caps in place. Now for as far as output devices go, you can see here the 3055, 2955. These are complementary output devices, and they are NPN, PNP transistors, you know, kind of the standard thing with the TO247 enclosure. Then we have the RFZ44s. These are MOSFETs for the power supply. And again, these are pretty typical to be used in these type amplifiers. And yeah, it's even got some Kia parts in there. Again, it's really funny to look at this amp and see how it looks like a project from somebody's high school putting it together. But it does still work. I mean, it's brand new. It's pretty old, but pretty cool too. So you guys let me know in the comment section below how many of you guys had LA Sound equipment back in the day, and how was it? I mean, this amp still works, but it was brand new, so I'm curious to know how many actually use these budget brand. You know, made in Korea, these are actually pretty good for what they were. Thanks as always for watching. Until next time, Big D, I'm out of here.
Things sounds pretty good. You know how them sound waves go? All right, we have the LA Sound Sunset 100S bridge. We're going to try a 2.67 dynamic 40 hertz. See if it pops the fuse or anything happens. All right, 153 at 14.42.